a Supreme Court ruling that may change politics in this country more dramatically than anything else this court has done in generations.
This is a Supreme Court-sanctioned murder of what little actual democracy is left in this democracy.
Like Pearl Harbor, this decision, Citizens United, is a case that will live in infamy.
Last week, the Supreme Court reversed a century of law that I believe will open the floodgates for special interests, including foreign corporations, to spend without limit in our elections.
In a 5-4 decision, the Supreme Court struck down decades of campaign laws with little basis explained in their ruling. I thought the Supreme Court was supposed to protect fair elections, not swoop in and decide our president in 2000, or vote on the side of big money in Citizens United. Democracy only works if we have fair elections. So I co-founded an activist group, Video the Vote, and made a film documenting voter suppression called Free for All. But what do you do when the most powerful court in the country makes elections unfair? I believe in democracy, but does the Supreme Court? How could Citizens United happen?
Citizens United came to the Supreme Court as a very small case. And basically there was a group called Citizens United, and they wanted to make a video on demand movie that was very critical of then presidential candidate Hillary Rodham Clinton.
I'm calling it a movie. I mean, it was really just a series of scabrous innuendos.
Ruthless, vindictive,
venal, sneaky,
ideological, intolerant.
Liar is a good one.
Scares the hell out of me.
What was behind it, of course, was a lot of money, corporate money, from people who wanted to achieve a certain result.
They were a corporation, and they wanted to use their general treasury funds for the movie and for ads.
They want this to air on all of these stations in advance of the primaries in New Hampshire in early 2008, and this is against the law.
They violated a lot of Federal Election Commission rules. Federal Election Commission sanctioned them, said you can't do this. They sued, as of course is their right.
The court wasn't actually asked to make a sweeping ruling. There was a fairly narrow question. Could this self-proclaimed media company have its product ruled not to be a campaign contribution, but just simply a piece of journalism?
But something perverse happened. It went way beyond Citizens United. Chief Justice John Roberts took a bizarre interest in this case. And after the initial arguments said, you know what, we want you to argue this case differently. Instead of talking about this one film and this specific incident, we want you to talk about regulation of corporate money and union money and private expenditures in our politics. We want you to develop briefs based on that. We want to argue a wholly different case. So the case was widened out from one incident with one little group and one film to a discussion of whether we should have regulations at all on corporate money and other private spending to influence our elections.
The government lost big. Citizens United won a resounding victory.
The Supreme Court wrongly decided that corporations were covered under the free speech amendments of the Constitution.
They said money in political campaigns, and they've said this forever, is the equivalent of speech. When I give you money to run for election, it's the same as me speaking. So we're under First Amendment analysis. We have to be very careful whenever we limit money.
Corporations were actually people whose First Amendment rights to freedom of speech was being infringed upon when they were told they could only put X number of dollars into a campaign.
What speech are we really quieting when every individual member of a corporation can speak for themselves? So you're not, in my mind, really silencing a viewpoint. What you're silencing is volume.
People are people and corporations are not. And corporations shouldn't be given the same rights to be able to buy up and drown out regular citizens' voices in the arena of political speech.
You can put as much money as you want into a race, and so can Walmart. So it's your free speech / money against their free speech / money. Who do you think has more free speech / money, you or Walmart?
I don't think our founding fathers and mothers were thinking about corporate treasuries as part of the free speech code.
An election is a debate. If the debate is distorted by having one side have so much greater resources than the other, that sometimes may distort the ability to decide the debate on the merits. You want to be sure that it's a fair fight.
I took the case because I agree with the position of my client and ultimately the U.S. Supreme Court that it is very important that the First Amendment vigorously protect the right of citizens to come together in advocacy groups and be able to speak out about the election of politicians.
So when you target corporations and labor unions with restrictions on speech, you are targeting people of average means, and you are benefiting the wealthy. People of average means must have the freedom to associate. They don't have the money. The only way they can get the money is to associate together, pool their resources to now buy the ad that they could not afford individually. What is that called in America today? A corporation.
Little James Bopp.
James Bopp is a very effective attorney,
an RNC committee member, and an ideologue
who has served conservative interest,
who is probably about 3/4 of the way through his 10 or 12-year plan to dismantle all campaign finance reform laws in this country as we know them.
He hates the idea that candidates should be required to disclose the sources of their donors.
What he's best known for is being a crusader against laws that would limit the power of corporations and wealthy individuals to impact politics.
I tell my associates and daughters, it's always better to be wealthy than not, because there is advantage. You got the money. So you want to go speak? Write a check.
Democracy, in theory, is owned by the people, and we all own it equally. So in theory, in democracy, an ordinary person who maybe rents a very inexpensive apartment or doesn't even have a roof over their head is equal to someone who owns numerous houses and has a bank account that's measured in the billions. So that's the wonder of democracy. It creates a level playing field, equality between all of us. And corporations are about something else entirely different.
The framers of the Constitution were acutely conscious of the fact that the United States of America, that this republic, stood a chance of functioning precisely because there were not broad inequities economically.
Thomas Jefferson was right. He said the reason that we formed this American experiment is that we want to be different than Europe. In Europe, the wolves always devour the sheep. And he then said very specifically, what I mean by this is that the rich always defeat the poor. The powerful always win. The point of the American experiment is understood by the founders, the people who wrote those Bill of Rights protections, was that we create a system open enough, free enough, small d, democratic enough, and fair enough so that the sheep have a chance, so that the poor and the working class and the great mass of Americans have a chance. The Citizens United ruling is a sharpening of the wolves' teeth. It is an invitation to the wolves to devour the sheep, and unless we address it, we're very likely to end up in a situation where a country that already has far too wide a gap between rich and poor, far too unequal a political, social, and economic structure, will become more unequal with a richer rich and a poorer poor.
How did it get this way? How did the Supreme Court become so reckless? Who's funding these efforts to undermine our democracy? How can we take back our elections? What can I do?
Sir, while you're filming, you have to stay on the sidewalk also.
What?
You can't film yourself.
Dude, I'm trying to...
Okay.
Wow. Thanks to the Supreme Court, I guess speech really isn't free. I can't even narrate my own documentary. How am I gonna tell this story?